Hello students, I am soft skills trainer from Department of Career Planning and Development, Chandigarh University. So today we'll be discussing a really important topic, that is your enhancing general awareness and its importance. So students, you need to understand this one thing particularly. See, your general awareness is really important when it comes down to your interview sessions or when it comes down to your placements. Now many students ask us, so why? So because we should be proficient in our these technical languages or our technical things, or if MBA students are talking about, they should be proficient in finance, marketing, and all those stuff, depending upon the course actually they are you know pursuing in the university. But when we generally talk about general awareness, why it is important? You see, one thing that you need to understand is your recruitment process. Whenever you have those recruitment processes, so generally first round we have after your written examination, generally that companies conduct is your GD. Okay, so what usually happens in GD, they give you some topic and you have to speak on that particular topic. Like you need to give like 4 or 5 points at least to somehow make that impression on the recruiters to select you for the further rounds. So when you don't know what is happening around you, what is happening in your country, what is happening in world, and what is happening in your state, in your area, so how will you be able to give those really good or complex points that the recruiter is actually looking for? And not only those complex points, the recruiter is also looking your analysis. Okay, how do you view that particular situation, or you know what is your view, what is your analysis of that particular situation that is happening in the country on which he or she has assigned you the topic. So then it becomes really important for you guys to understand what is happening. Simple, what is happening. And that is your general awareness. I'm not talking about that you should be proficient in your history, polity, geography, economics, science, technology. No, we're not talking about that proficiency. That proficiency is totally different. We are actually talking about general awareness. So let's begin this particular topic, and in the coming slides we'll just try and understand what is this general awareness all about, why it is actually so important, and how can you actually enhance your general awareness. So let's start this particular thing. Now first thing that you need to understand is what general awareness means. So as per the definition, basic definition that we have, is your general awareness is related to science, technology, politics, national affair, international affair, trades, sports, and much more. So now there's this one question in everyone's mind, that how can you remember all the information? How can you grasp every single thing that is there on the internet or on the newspapers? At times it's really impossible to grab every understand every single thing, or to remember everything. So we're not talking about, we're not asking you to just remember everything, but you should know what is actually happening. So if we talk about like science, let me give you just basic example. So science, so what is happening in science in today's world? So your AI is coming in, your machine learning is coming in, then we have those blockchain technologies that are coming in, and those things are really making a lot of changes in our life. And companies are also trying and finding those individuals who are really good in that. So why those things are actually important? Because these things are affecting, they have started affecting our daily life, and in the future, that is the future. So if you don't know what is AI, what is machine learning, and what is all those things, so I don't know, like, what in the world are you living? You are using your mobile phone, and that your mobile phones are now AI enabled. So what that thing is, because you are using your mobile on a daily basis, you should be knowing actually what is in there. If I ask you this particular question, just general question, okay, tell me what is this AI, how does your phone function? Now you should be knowing. Just why in the first place actually I'm asking this particular question is to try and understand whether you are in a way aware. Getting it? That's why we are calling it as general awareness. We're not calling it as specific awareness. I'm not asking you for your subject things. Okay, again, science and technologies. For example, if you talk about the technology, India is really doing well in technological sector. We are like software hub, and in India, Bangalore is called the Silicon Valley of India. We most of the major software companies are being kind of run by by Indians, not by Indians. All of them are not CEOs, but yes, they are really at really prominent position in most of the companies. And also we are kind of cater to the needs of big software giants. People sitting down there in Bangalore, they are working fairly well to provide software technology to the entire world, not just to the US. Not only that, if we talk about, let's say, space technology, you need to understand, like, space technology, India is really doing well. We recently launched our Gaganyaan project, and we are fairly working on that particular project well. We have shortlisted around three Gagan nodes who will be going there in the space. And that particular process, that particular initiative is taken by ISRO to send Indians into the space. We know the first Indian to go into space was Rakesh Sharma, and then was Kalpana Chawla. But what about others? Uske baad, where are the other Indians? Why we are not able to do that? But again, ISRO is doing really well in that thing. And also, if we talk about, like, politics, if you don't know, like, what is the political scenario in the country, as if as of now. For example, if I want to give you an example, recently in Madhya Pradesh, what happened? A 15 month old elected government, where the Kamal Nath was the chief minister of this particular state, Madhya Pradesh, was not able to defend the majority in the house, and he actually resigned. So Shivraj Chauhan ji, he again become the CM. So you should be understanding what is the political scenario that is happening. You take the example of Maharashtra, where two key allies, BJP and the Shiv Sena, were not able to come to the terms, and Shiv Sena decided to go with the NCP and the INC, that is the Indian National Congress. So they forming their government. Things happened in Rajasthan, all sorts of things happening in other parts of the India. So you should be again aware of that. Again, if you talk about, like, these national and international affairs, so when we specifically talk about national and international affairs, so generally we talk about government schemes, government initiatives, individual contributions to the to the country, and also to the world. Like, for example, if you talk about, like, national affairs, if you talk about national affairs, so majority of our part actually is covered by government scheme, what actually government is doing. For example, your Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji has this particular vision that he wants to create a Naya Bharat by 2022, and for that he is taking a lot of initiative. But we need to understand, we need to analyze on our own senses, by reading the statistics, by going through the schemes that he is trying and bringing in, and trying to understand whether those initiative will materialize, and will be able to see a Naya Bharat by 2022. But we don't even know what is the Naya Bharat thing is. Again, we have a scheme called the Bharat Net Yojana, where government is trying to connect all the rural houses to the high speed internet connectivity. Why the government is actually doing that? Why the government is connecting those rural areas with the to high speed internet connectivity? Because they want to bring in that rural household on the platform. Again, you need to understand why. Because that particular scheme is actually related to another government of India scheme, that is called the e-market, where your farmers can actually sell their produces online. So you see, you should be knowing about those things. Why in the first place? Again, let's say, if you have a GD, like, what government is doing, how our economy is faring. So these are common GD topics for MBA, for computer science, or any, for BBA, BCom, whatever course you are pursuing. So these are general topics you need to understand. If you don't know about these things, how gonna you come give really good points? You will end up giving those generic points, and after 5 or 6 points your GD will conclude. But if one person out of all of you sitting in a GD, who has read newspaper on a daily basis, gone through daily updates that are coming in on a daily basis, he'll be able to give all those points, and again he'll leave a lasting impression on the recruiter. Again, moving forward, we have trade, sports, and much more things. Like, let's talk about trade. Oh, sorry, I missed that international affairs thing. So what is happening around the world? we all know, that Indo-China, US China trade war, actually, US government was imposing tariffs on around 200 or $3 billion, imports from China, in retaliation. This particular China, they imposed those retaliatory tariffs on US imports. So what was happening in that particular point of time? Everyone was after, make sure make sure that we want to have the upper hand. Also, recently we have that COVID-19, that is your coronavirus background. What is actually happening around the world. What is the situation of China, what is the situation of Italy, Spain. The whole of Europe is shaken by this particular, dreaded virus. Also the US, the Canada, even big celebrities, they are not, are left be are not, immune to those that particular virus. Also India is actually working really hard to somehow contain this particular virus in India. Why? Because we are a densely populated area. China was a densely populated area, and we have seen the results, the community spread, how that particular, virus uh, traveled across whole of China, and then to the Europe, and then to the other countries. More than 150 countries now are affected with this particular virus. So again, what is happening at the international level is important to you, because with the globalization, with the internet, we have become a close family, a close knitted family. You cannot, ignore what is happening internationally and just focus on, okay, what is happening in your own country. Again, trade, we have talked about China and all, and we should be also aware of, what are our trade, how we are trading with other countries. Somehow, again, if you really want to, have a good group discussion on Indian economy, you should be knowing about your imports, your exports, your fiscal deficit, what's the target of the government, what's the, what's the budget, what your finance minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, has, brought in this 2020 budget. So you should be knowing all these things. Again, if you know these things, it'll helpful, it will be kind of a helpful thing for you, so that whenever you are in a GD, or even if you are in an interview, you can actually present your analysis. Okay, so sports, we know about sports. We generally have this particular focus only on cricket, or some on football, but there are other sports as well, like for example shooting. Right now we are, a biggest contender in for the Tokyo 2020 Olympic, that has been recently, postponed to 2021 because of the outbreak. But again, we have this, we are one of the, contenders to win, most number of medals in shooting, because our team are shooting, men and women team are really strong, and lots of other things as well. Okay, let's proceed forward. So why it is important? Again, see, I've told you that for students who are looking for placements, good general awareness, that can literally help them with their initial rounds like GD. Again, if you have good points, if you have got valid points, only then that particular recruiter consider you. See, if you got a really good communication skill and whatever you're speaking doesn't make sense, sorry, that particular recruiter won't recruit you. Why? Because he wants people with brain. A call center company might give you a job, but a company, for example, if you applied for a, research analyst or a business analyst, a business development, individual, it will be difficult for you to get, placement in that particular company. Or even if you're looking for placements in companies like, Microsoft, let's say Google, Deloitte, these big companies. So you need to have that critical thinking analysis thing. And how going to analysis? First you need to know things, only then you can present your own viewpoints, because they want to know what do you think. Okay, again, if you are aware about general awareness, what is happening, you can actually be able to stand, out of the crowd, because you can, because a person with good knowledge is always appreciated. Okay, again, it can be a good instant conversation starters. For example, if you're in a meeting, if you are somewhere out with your friends, with your family, again, it's well, that's a informal aspect of that. But if you know things, you can actually start a very good and healthy discussion rather than talking pointlessly. It's good to give your viewpoint and understand others' viewpoint on a kind of similar topic. Okay. General awareness makes you street smart and helps you take well informed decision. Again, for example, if you want to invest, let's talk about investment. If you want to take make some kind of investment, and if you're really good in economics, sorry, if you go through that economics page of newspaper every single day, you should be able to understand the situation of the market. Not only that, you'll be able to help your friend or your family to make better decision on investment. Because, like, for example, as of now, your sensex is going down. It has come down to 28, 29,000. Earlier it was like 40,000. So if you are looking at that particular page every single day, if you are a well informed individual, it will be easy for you to make a well informed decision. Okay, strong command. Again, public speaking is something that every student or every individual desires, that if he or she got a mic and have to speak in front of audience, he'll be able to do that fairly well. But the thing is, if you don't know anything, how can you speak on a given topic, let's say? So obviously you can prepare a given topic, let's say, but from a crowd, if someone asks you some question, है ना, so it will be difficult for you to at times answer, because again, if your general awareness is good, if you know your things, if you know what you are actually talking about, it will be really good. You will actually improve your public speaking skills, and you'll no longer be afraid of that. Okay, how to enhance your general awareness? Now this particular question comes across, most of the people, most of the students actually ask this particular, how to go about that, how to enhance, because they actually don't know how to go about that. If I tell them, okay, you need to read newspaper, then the basic thing is like, okay sir or ma'am, we can't do that, we can't go through the complete newspaper, because we got our own subjects to study. So what are one of the what are the ways to actually start improving, or start improving your reading skill, sorry, your general awareness is? See, basics are basic. You got to read newspaper, but let me tell you one thing is, you don't need to read the entire newspaper. There's the one thing that most of the students or most of the individuals don't understand. They don't have to go about every single news that is coming up in the news. You need to somehow understand which news is important, which news is not important, and then you have to go about that particular news, and then you need to read that. Now again, question pops up, how we gonna do that, how we gonna somehow segregate which news is important, which news is not important? See, again, let me tell you one thing. Your news related to national issues, international issues, your what is happening in politics, your government initiatives, your government schemes, these kind of news are actually important. So if you're reading about, okay, there was this theft that was reported in that particular area, there was this road accident that happened, this happened, that happened, all these things, they are not to be considered, though at times they might be important for someone, for reporters, but those news are actually not important for you. What you should be looking in a newspaper are news that impacts your life, kind of your nation's, what is happening in the country, or decision that will affect the country, and the decisions that might affect the world. So you need to go about those news. Okay, so again, we have the gift of the technology these days, app on phone. So if you really don't want to buy that newspaper, so let me again, sorry, regarding newspaper, there are some newspaper that I would like you to consider. Number one newspaper is your Hindu, the Economics Time, the Indian Express. So I would say these three newspaper more or less covers the entire story. So if you are really interested in economics of a country, so you can follow that particular newspaper. But again, the Hindu and the Indian Express are two such newspaper that actually gives you the news which is important. They don't give you the masala, simple. They don't give you those spicy news that the other newspaper actually give you. That's my take on that. So read the Hindu, the Indian Express, you know, selectively, not thoroughly. You need to understand, you need to read those newspapers selectively, not thoroughly, because if you end up reading those newspaper thoroughly, it will, consume a lot of your time. So what actually I do, in a general way, I just scroll through the headings, just go through the newspaper once, and then I just tick mark some of the headings, and then I start reading those things again. For example, if you really don't want to carry those newspaper, if you don't have that particular time, now you have apps for those newspaper. You can actually install a app in your mobile phone. You can download that newspaper, e-newspaper, and then you can read. You can take some screenshot if you thought, if you think that this particular news is really important. You can also do that. Also, these news channels have also have those their YouTube channels as well. If you're talking about YouTube, see, today YouTube is one such website wherein you'll find the largest collection of your educational videos, apart from all the different kind of video that they are actually having. This particular website is something that you can learn from. A lot of information is there. So my favorite channel, if you ask me about regarding this particular from YouTube channel, is that you is Rajya Sabha TV. I don't like other news channels. Why actually I like Rajya Sabha TV is, see, I read newspaper. Okay, that's fine. But in what actually happens in Rajya Sabha TV is you get real good debates. See, when you watch those 30 or 40 minutes old debate, you get viewpoints of those individual who actually writes editorial in the newspaper. For example, you will be listening to a former ambassador. You will be listening to someone who has worked for government of India at World Trade Organization, that is WTO. You will listen to someone who is expert in his particular field. You will also listen to someone who has been ambassador to that particular country. So actually you get a varied view, you get really good views, and you can that actually helps you build your own mental ability on a variety of topics. So my favorite channel would be, if you think about YouTube, if you really want to learn something, go to Rajya Sabha TV and watch those meaningful discussions. I highly recommend you not to go to any specific news channel, because most of the news channels they do not show what good discussion is. They are, I don't know, like what in the things they are actually involved. So I would recommend you guys go to Rajya Sabha TV. For YouTube, I would again, you have certain these channels, like the Indian Express has its own channel, Hindustan Times has its own channel, so you can refer to those channels also. They will give you the news that is trending, that you should be knowing. They'll not tell you anything that is not worth your time. Okay, some examples that I want to tell you. See, so here what I have done is, I have some these clippings of the newspaper. So for example, if I tell you this particular thing, so this migrant workers rush transit points, where do we, this is the particular news wherein many workers from Maharashtra, Gujarat, actually they are traveling to their hometown. Actually, if I talk about this particular news is not important for me. I am just telling you how to selectively select the newspaper. Okay, curfew across Punjab. Okay, this particular news is related to this particular situation, that is COVID-19 coronavirus situation. Okay, no community spread yet. Again, it's about the Niti, what actually Niti is doing. Okay, shutdown weighs heavy on sentiment, Sensex tanks. Actually, this particular news, I would say, this particular news is really important for me, because that directly is with the Sensex, and when Sensex go down, so that's not a good news for economy. Again, Chauhan back in MP, takes charge as CM to start his voting. Again, this kind of a news is kind of important for me, because this particular news gives me highlight, okay, what is happening in different state. Okay, which government is forming, which government, how different parties are faring in different election. Okay, this particular news channel page is really important, as of whosoever really wants to learn something. For example, how policy can bridge the gap. So this particular This is the article, written by Aziz sir. So income support to most vulnerable is key. India cannot complain that it does not have the fiscal space or infrastructure to provide it. So it's something about how can policy, can bridge the gap that is there in between the poor, and the between the poor and the government subsidy, that they are actually not getting it, something like that. Okay, so because I have not read that particular article. So China and WHO, a new story. So this particular thing is how China has carefully calibrated its rise in the UN system. World including India must deal with the consequences. Okay, the way China is now, working in UN. So for example, prior to this corona outbreak, China was not China doesn't used to give critical informations regarding what is happening in the country, and most of the information that we used to get regarding China was some kind of unreliable sources. So now, after this coronavirus and this C word, China actually shared all the details with the world. So that is something that was not expected out of China. Okay, again, this particular page is about economy. Uncertainty over coronavirus triggered flight to safety. Rupee plummets. So again, this is really important. Your rupee is going down 76.20, not a good news. Okay, so again, SBI commits funds. Are what different companies are doing it. So this particular thing, for example, Priyanka's sale of Hussein painting to Rana Kapoor. So we all know what is happening with the Yes Bank. So there was this thing wherein Priyanka Gandhi actually sold some painting or something. So that is under ED scanner, and this particular news is not important for me. Okay. Okay, this particular thing, like labor ministry urges employers to not cut job pay. So that is something that labor ministry won't, because in the wake of this outbreak. Again, so we have editorial from the Hindu. Okay, so the perils of an all lockdown. So a view of a person. Okay, what actually happens in all lockdown. Okay, this is something that that you need to read. Picking up the quantum technology button. So this is really important because in its budget that was delivered in the parliament in February, government of India has actually committed this particular 8,000 crore for developing quantum technology. So this is something that the government of India is really proactive on this particular issue. This particular stealing a mandate, BJP played by the book, but a new government will lack moral legitimacy without winning by polls. So regarding this particular thing is about the situation that is happening in the Maharashtra, where elected government fell of Kamal Nath, because some of the rebels, some of the MLAs from the previous government, defected to BJP, and they actually formed a new government. So it's a take of the editor. Okay, what is happening in that area? Again, this is sports news. Okay, so IOC to start discussion on possible postponement. So we all know what is the situation. So in these situation, you cannot think of Olympic games. So earlier, your IOC, International Olympic Committee, was actually was not considering this particular issue, that they're kind of adamant that they will go ahead with the Olympic Games. But now the situation has worsened, and now they have actually postponed the Olympic Games to 2021, when some of the nations said that big nations said that will not be participating in this particular events, because it's kind of impossible. There's this major breakdown going on, and in July you have those Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. That's the thing. Again, we have some other news regarding, at times some of them are important. For example, most of the important thing are well actually what is happening with different teams. Regarding, for example, this particular news, BFI, Boxing Federation of India, mum on Mary Kom breaking quarantine. So Mary Kom was put into quarantine, but she somehow kind of left that quarantine and went for some party or something like that. So that these kind of news are really not important to tell you. Okay, so this is the Rajya Sabha YouTube channel that actually I was talking about. See, we have these things like the World Panorama, Gyan Vigyan, Science Monitor, Policy Watch. So if you go to the YouTube, type in down your Rajya Sabha TV, go to playlist. Okay, then you have these things. Just say you have these channels like the World Panorama, Science Monitor, Policy Watch. So these are really, I would say, good, and I will highly recommend those those programs, because for example in word panorama, actually you what actually you do is you get a really view, a good view of what is happening in the world. And policy watch is something that, whenever your government of India actually brings in some kind of new policy, so that particular policy is actually discussed by learned individuals. I won't say that these whosoever individual is sitting in the room is just from some party or something. No, they are learned individual, professors, doctors. They are ambassador, retired IAS officers, civil servants, retired civil servants, and they know well actually what they are talking about. So I hope you've got this thing in your head, that why your journal awareness is important. So again, I've discussed with you what are the basic tips that you need to follow. Is just read newspaper, open your mobile phones. If you can't read newspaper, just download e-newspaper on your mobile. You can also download their apps, like for example Indian Express, the Hindu, the Hindustan Times. They all have come up with their apps. Just read good things. Okay, read things that actually matters. Do not go about things that won't affect your life. Government of India's decision to somehow deduct, or somehow slash the rate of tax will impact your life. Something happening on TikTok won't affect your life. So you need to make that conscious choice, what you need to read that will help you in your future, and what you need not to read. So my take on this thing is just start reading good stuff. If you want to, if you want to go to YouTube and watch, Rajya Sabha is one such example that I've given you. There are n number of other channels that you can find, on the YouTube, that will definitely help you and enhance your journal awareness. And okay, thank you for this particular session.